Brand New Day just dropped a fantastic trailer, and it's packed full of Easter eggs, comic references, and a lot of potential clues. Given what we already know from the leaked trailer, plus the comic storylines it's drawing from, I think I know what's happening in Brand New Day. And now, it's time that you did too. So let's unravel this web, one strand at a time. Human Spider, Peter's mutation. This one's the most obvious. Peter's powers are changing rapidly in Brand New Day, and I don't mean the organic webbing. I'm almost positively sure they're doing the Human Spider storyline from the comics, but if you don't know what that is, don't worry, I got you. Over the course of the comics, sometimes Peter's powers have mutated and turned into a literal 8-legged spider. The first time we saw this was in Marvel Fanfare number 2. But the concept has made several appearances throughout storylines, like Amazing Spider-Man number 472. Now, in the trailer, this was heavily implied. We see Peter going to Bruce Banner for help about his powers mutating. Then there's the whole web cocoon and the black eyes, which, surprise, are classic trademarks of the human spider. If you aren't deep into the comic lore, you might just think this is a cool, creepy visual, but it closely mirrors the progression seen in the comics of the human spider mutation. In storylines like The Other Evolve or Die and Spectacular Spider-Man's Changes arc, this transformation doesn't happen overnight. It is a terrifying, painful metamorphosis, and it almost always begins with a web cocoon. The general idea is that the spider part of his powers start to take over, causing him to pretty much lose his humanity entirely. Besides that, his basic powers are also getting a pretty sizable boost. The trailer shows a scene where Spider-Man is being tested by an Agent Ramirez, who might be a DODC operator. The scan shows his tensile strength measuring up to 12,000 psi and his neural response time at 0.22 seconds. His literal body is mutating into superhuman levels way beyond what any serum or radiation can do, which explains why he can't even handle the force of his own swings. But what causes this? Well, in most stories, extreme stress. The kind that being forgotten by everyone you love and having no personal life can put you through. I also think those bleeding ears and his falling unconscious are a bigger indication of him losing control. When Peter wakes up in the web cocoon, he doesn't really recognize where he is and looks pretty confused. He's also wrapped up hanging on the side of a building like a spider. I think he did this subconsciously, and the scene of him fainting is probably one of many blackouts. But I think that's just the base. We know that for about 4 years, Peter's been living like this. So what's the final nail? The Hand and the DODC, who I think are going to be major players in Brand New Day's street-level war. Key characters. What we do know about the DODC so far is that they've really increased their hunt for metahumans, specifically mutants, according to a report by Majestic. Trammell Tillman is playing the head of the DODC, and he might be hunting for Sadie Sink's character in Brand New Day. Tillman's character might also be playing William Metzger, a highly active anti-mutant activist from the comics who led the anti-mutant militia in X-Men Children of the Atom. And that would line up with the rumors that Sadie Sink is playing Jean Grey. Because who better to hunt than an Omega-level mutant and one of the best telepaths in all of Marvel? Plus, in the comics, this storyline has already happened. William Metzger sent his militia after Jean Grey, and even captured her, which led to Charles gathering his forces in the comics. The pieces are lining up a little too conveniently here, especially since it seems like Brand New Day is heavily leaning into comic storylines. We know that Kevin Feige plans to introduce the mutants as one of the headliners of Marvel going forward. Introducing one of the most popular mutants and turning the DODC into a mutant hunting agency might be the perfect way to kick that off. The DODC itself was formed as a joint venture between Stark Industries and the federal government following the Battle of New York. Their primary directive was cleaning up after superheroes. After Tony's death, though, they got a lot bolder. And so far, the DODC actively hunted and arrested Peter Parker.
We have a warrant for the arrest of Peter Parker.
Emil Blonsky, Jennifer Walters, Kamala Khan, and recently Simon Williams. But they might not be the only ones after Jean Grey. There's also the Hand, who we know is playing a major part in Brand New Day. The Hand isn't just a call of ninjas. They're powered by a mystic, dark entity known as the Beast, and their entire goal is essentially finding vessels for the Beast. In the Shadowlands storyline, this host was once Daredevil himself. I believe that the Hand might be looking to break out all the mutants the DODC has arrested so far, because they believe that in one of them, they'll find a host. You know, since Elektra didn't work out for them at all. And I can't think of a better candidate than Jean Grey. It wouldn't be the first time she's been possessed by a dark cosmic entity, after all. We also know that Sadie Singh's character is under the protection of the Punisher, and this wouldn't be Frank's first time going up against the Hand. In 2011's The Omega Effect, the Punisher, Daredevil, and Spider-Man all teamed up against the Hand, and he also fought against them during Shadowland. Plus, in Daredevil Season 2's finale, he took down ninja after ninja to help Matt. So we would have two massive factions, both going after mutants for their own purposes, and both hunting down one extremely powerful mutant in particular, with New York as their battlefield. That mutant would also be under the protection of the deadliest man in New York, and wherever Frank goes, bodies drop, which is something Spider-Man never lets slide. But let's pause. This all really hinges on Sadie Sink being Jean Grey, and let me give you some evidence about why it's very likely it is her. Let's start with Sadie herself, literally confirming she's in it.
But now you're filming Spider-Man, Brand New Day, and...
Yeah. Like before I got cast in Spider-Man, like there was speculation online that said Sadie Sink's gonna be in the new Spider-Man. I was like, I am? And then sure enough, yeah, like 2 days later, they asked me to do it.
Weird.
So yeah.
Then there was the leaked trailer where we had dialogue from Sadie Sink.
You're a mess, Spider-Man. Stay out of my way. Or else it won't just be your friends who don't remember who Peter Parker is.
Let's assume that isn't her for a second. This still implies that the character we hear can erase people's knowledge of Peter Parker. And you'd have to be some kind of telepath to do that. I don't know about you, but that sounds like something within Jean Grey's skill set. The dialogue also implies that this character has bigger plans that she doesn't want Spidey interfering with. And if it is Jean Grey, then I believe she'll be aiming to dismantle the DODC's citywide mutant hunt and free the ones they've already caught. And to do that, I think she's going to need the Hulk, but more on that later. If that's not enough for you guys, do you see this hooded character here? That outfit looks a lot like this leaked photo of Sadie Sink on the set of Brand New Day. Also, that's Peter's apartment, but Peter is a nobody, so whoever this is, it's totally Jean Grey, knows that Peter is Spider-Man and might be seeking him out. And if all of that isn't suspicious, then there's this scene.
It can leave the spider vulnerable to threats.
We are faced with a danger that we can't control.
Yeah, that looks an awful lot like mind control, doesn't it? So, where does Spider-Man fit into all of this? Well, if the DODC is rounding up innocent mutants and the Hand wants to unleash those in New York, and Frank Castle's shooting the hell out of both, trying to protect an innocent girl, what more reason does Peter need to jump into the fray? Now, I know what you might be thinking. Why doesn't the DODC go after Spider-Man too? And honestly, they might, but I'm just not getting that vibe from the trailer. We know that Peter receives the key to the city from none other than Sheila Rivera, the assistant of Mayor Fisk, who helped him take down Police Commissioner Goal in Born Again Season 2. Off topic, but that's like top 5 goriest scenes in the MCU. Fisk already listed Spidey as one of the targets of his anti-vigilante task force.
We don't need a gun-toting vigilante who wears a skull on his chest, or a man who dresses in a spider outfit.
And it wouldn't make sense for his administration to glorify Pete like this after publicly announcing him as a target. Sheila, at first, was always hesitant about Fisk. She was concerned throughout Born Again about the way he's running things, and what I can see happening is this being a PR stunt to gain back some of New York's goodwill by sanctioning their most popular hero. It also feels like this is a much more vigilante-friendly New York, since not only is Frank operating in broad daylight, but he even has the Punisher van now. But hold up, how does Daredevil join the picture? Well, in 2 ways. Daredevil and Spidey. Let's get the elephant in the room out of the way first. Recently, on Jimmy Kimmel, Charlie Cox came out and spoke about his involvement in Brand New Day.
Are you in the movie?
No.
Yeah, you say no.
But, you know, we've heard this line before.
There's a photo going around on the internet of you and Tobey Maguire on the set of Spider-Man, and I was like, wow,
I'm not sure about that.
And we also know that Marvel isn't above digitally altering their trailers to keep important characters hidden. They did it with Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man in the trailer for No Way Home 2. In the actual movie, this scene had Tobey and Andrew's Spider-Man both facing off against Electro and the Lizard. I think they've done the same thing again in this scene from the trailer. Take a look at these guys closely. Half of them aren't even looking or aiming at Peter directly. I really think Daredevil is in this scene, and they've simply erased him. It honestly makes an incredible amount of sense. Daredevil actively tracked all of the Hand's activities in Season 2. He was responsible for stopping them in the Defenders and even lost the love of his life to them. This guy has an endless list of reasons to be involved in anything that's related to the Hand, especially if they're aiming to unleash superhumans all over New York, or worse, resurrect a dark entity through some ritual again. Matt's already been through that once.
Electra.
I believe that besides just fighting the Hand, Daredevil's going to have an additional role. He's going to help Peter understand how to utilize his new senses. There's literally no one better than Matt to teach him that, since that's what Stick taught him to do.
You're gonna help me?
No, I'm gonna train you.
Also, Peter's probably going to need help figuring out how to fight the Hand anyway. They don't have any heartbeats, they don't make sounds, and their movements are impossible to track unless you actively look for their breath. And for a Spider-Man that's already unstable, that's a lot to handle. But Matt's gone through all of that, making him the only street-level hero equipped to teach a mutating Spidey how to filter out the noise and survive his own evolving body. Plus, wherever Frank goes, Matt usually follows. Now, where does that leave Hulk, MJ, and Ned? Strange's spell. I actually think that all three of them are going to be critical in reversing Strange's spell. I'm not sure if they'll completely reverse it, since that would mean everyone would know Peter is Spider-Man, but I do believe the spell is going to be broken in some way. And the first domino is going to be the Hulk. Right now, he's still using the inhibitor that keeps the Hulk locked up, making Banner human full-time. But if that comes off, or worse, if he gets mind-controlled again and unleashes the Hulk, then we might just get one of the coolest comic moments ever. Now, there are two obvious arguments against this. One is that Hulk, at least the Savage one, hasn't ever met Peter. He was on Sakaar when Peter joined, and Peter got blipped soon after he came back. The other is why Sadie Sink's character would even unleash the Hulk in the first place. For the first one, Smart Hulk was both Bruce and Savage Hulk, so it wouldn't be too much of a stretch to say that Savage Hulk remembers his interactions with Spider-Man during Endgame and Tony's funeral. Plus, it's a funeral. I think they shared a few words, at least. Also, Frank and Peter haven't met on screen either, but they clearly know each other. Point being, if Marvel wants two characters to be acquainted, they'll make it happen. As for the second, well, why do you ever control the Hulk? He's a top-tier distraction. We literally saw this happen bar for bar in Age of Ultron with Wanda Maximoff.
I want the big one.
How is Spidey supposed to get in the way of Sadie's potential plans when he's too busy stopping a rampaging Hulk, who, by the way, is probably pissed off that he was repressed for years? Remember how I said that Jean Grey is going to use the Hulk to stop the DODC? I think it'll be through her telepathy. It's the perfect way to break into a DODC Supermax facility. I mean, think about it. The Punisher has a lot of ammo, but I doubt even Frank has enough to bust open into a holding facility for superhumans. And Jean Grey probably isn't that strong just yet, but the Hulk is. And Jean is the only one with the abilities to weaponize him. Tearing into a facility like that would be a regular warm-up for him. And in the ensuing chaos, Jean Grey could rescue all the mutants. But the most important part is that if Hulk remembers Peter, it could fracture the spell. He specifically says Peter Parker, not Spider-Man here.
So cast a new spell, but this time make everyone forget who Peter Parker is.
And even in the trailer, people clearly know who Spidey is. MJ and Ned probably still remember interacting with Spider-Man and helping him out. And that would explain why Ned has like 1 billion pictures of Spider-Man posted up on his wall. As for MJ, think about it from her perspective. Suddenly, she can't remember why she was in the aftermath of a massive battle. That's going to raise some questions. But even beyond that, she's still kept the necklace that Peter gave her. Even when Ned asks her if this is the happiest she's been, her response is a blunt no.
Come on, pretend like you're not the happiest you've ever been in your entire life.
I can't.
It's pretty likely she senses something isn't right. Which, yeah, you're missing the love of your life. Also, her new boyfriend? Total downgrade. Also, Matt, he can tell when someone's lying.
You're lying. You're a liar. You are lying to us.
Nice, he's telling the truth.
Even if he doesn't remember Peter, he might remember being Spider-Man's lawyer. And since he'd know that Peter's telling the truth about No Way Home, that would be two people who haven't completely forgotten Peter Parker. I believe this is going to make the spell crack, and it's going to lead to Ned and MJ recovering their memories of Peter, and with those closest to him slowly starting to remember him. Brand New Day is based on the comics One More Day, and Brand New Day, and in it, Peter trades his marriage to MJ and people's memories of him to save Aunt May. Now, it was an absolutely horrible comic, but that's a video for another day. The important bit here is that there was a loophole. Once Peter unmasked, people's memories of him came flooding back. So even in the comic it's based on, there is a loophole around Peter being forgotten, and nothing is stopping the MCU from doing the same thing. I also believe that his loved ones remembering him again is going to play a part in bringing Peter back from the brink of his mutation into the human spider. But that can't be the only thing. I think Banner is going to work on a cure for Peter, or perhaps even make an inhibitor for him to suppress his mutation. If it can keep the Hulk locked in, it might be able to reverse whatever's happening to Peter. But for that, he needs an anchor, and Ned and MJ have always been Peter's stability. We already know that he still visits the cafe where Ned and MJ are pretty often, and he even moved in next to MJ, meaning he still clings onto their presence however he can.
Nice flowers.
Oh, they're a housewarming gift.
I'm MJ.
I'm just a neighbor from across the hall.
Friendly neighbor.
So, to sum it all up, the big bads of this movie are going to be the Hand and the DODC in an arms race for every mutant they can find, with Jean Grey being the center and Peter being caught up in a three-way deadlock between the military, a ninja cult, and Marvel's top street tiers, the Punisher and Daredevil. The stress of his life these past 4 years and the state of New York is going to drive his powers to evolve, causing him to lose his humanity. Literally, until he's brought back from the brink by his friends and loved ones finally remembering him, and a nifty little cure from one of the world's leading experts on people turning into monsters. Of course, a lot of this just might be flat out wrong, but that's the fun part about a theory. Even if you're wrong, you get immersed in the story. And speaking of stories, what are your theories for Brand New Day? Did you think anything here clicked for you, or do you think this is all just fan fiction? Let us know in the comments below. Because until the agonizing wait for Brand New Day ends, we've only got endless theories.